Everybody, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Brandon Cobb. Today, I've got Jesse on the show. He is the co-founder of Pebble REI. That's a CRM platform built for land investors. He's done a lot of different businesses here. And today, I want to talk about how he grew his software business. He's got his own podcast. I believe he's got the Pebble podcast. He's also got the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast, and I want to explore how he went and built that software business. Jesse, welcome to the show.
Hey, Brandon, thanks for having me on. Happy to share what I can share with your audience here.
Yeah, no, this is going to be fun because it's not every day that you talk to somebody that's grown a software company. For those that don't know who you are, let's start. What's your story?
Yeah. Man, I guess my entrepreneurial journey. It's. I remember back in the day, I grew up as a very sheltered kid up here in Vancouver, Canada. Mom wouldn't really let me out. Stayed home during the summers, and I'm like, man, there's nothing to do at home, so. I remember just hopping on the computer and I used to sell stuff on eBay all the time, random stuff on there. That sort of gave me the entrepreneurial bite. My mom was very supportive of that, helping me ship things out and whatnot. But got started there, and then I met my wife. We my girlfriend at that time. We started a online beauty training. She was a Japanese nail art and artist, and believe it or not, it's a really big thing in Asia and Russia and Eastern Europe. And we got really into that. That was before school came out and all these sort of learning platforms, and it was really cool. It was sort of like a Netflix of specifically Japanese nail art. I know what a obscure little corner of the world.
Yeah.
And that went great. Although, running a business with my wife, one of the things I learned was like it was great, on paper, but that wasn't really her dream, and she expressed that multiple times, especially closer to the end of the business itself. This was during like 2000, must have been 2013 to 2018, 17 type of thing. Um, and I was like, this isn't worth it for our relationship. I loved her dearly, and so I got into real estate. I saw everybody was getting into real estate, and I went to a meetup here locally here in Vancouver, and I met a couple people that ran a meetup that were wholesaling virtually. Um, and that got me interested in this whole thing about, you know, virtual wholesaling. I love computers, and it had to do with real estate. Um, Anyway, so from there, I started wholesaling. It did not go well. Started getting into fix and flips with somebody who I wish I did a little bit more due diligence, to be honest. I'm one of those guys. I don't know if some of you guys that are listening can relate to this. I'm not the most analytical guy. I'm the guy that kind of just fires by the hip and like figures it out along the way. That's probably like one of the key things or themes about me. I know nothing. But I'll go out there and learn. I mean, this was the same in the beauty world. I knew nothing about doing nails, but I soon enough learned quite a bit. Um, and same with real estate. Unfortunately, I had some hard lessons. I was in the hole about just over six figures on a couple projects that I would say I kind of got shammed on. Um, I barely remember too much about it. Everything was such a blur because I was about to have my kid at that time too, and it was just it was crazy. But I ended up continuing to just have conversations with people in the space. I met somebody else who did land. Um, and I was like, what's this? Is this the next thing? And it was very similar to wholesaling, but instead of, your single family homes, it was raw land. I literally people buying land and flipping it for a profit. I thought this was a joke. Um, so I signed up for this course from a friend of mine, and I didn't even like. Again, here's the theme of I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna try it. And I remember signing it up and just learning on a Saturday night. And one of the first steps was to just send out direct mailing. Send out direct mailing to people with land, and you get your list from the county. I didn't even know what a county was, by the way. Uh, I thought it was where people go to jail for, I'm a Canadian, we're not the 51st state yet. So I was still figuring that out. Um, and yeah, he was like, go get your mailing out, and then this is how you're going to get the property and how I knew nothing. I was like, I'm just gonna get marketing out and try to prove this concept. Can I even get a piece of, I thought it was like, this sounded too good to be true. So I did it. There was not a lot to lose, a few $100 to get out some mail to people that I got a list from, I don't know where, maybe the county or some data list provider. And I still have my very first mailer on my desk. So if you're watching this on camera,
Ah, yeah, I
uh,
see it.
um, I crossed out some of the stuff here. Why did I do? Oh, right, because I didn't want the addresses on here. But I drew a little thank you. I had a graphic design background, but I make this as ugly as possible. I scanned in a star and a thank you. Anyways, I sent out, I think, 500 of these. I locked down 3 properties, and
Wow.
I was like, this has got to be a joke. Like, I bought. So somebody got back to me. This was in Bend, Oregon, and I knew nothing about, like, literally nothing, Brandon. I was like, I didn't even know there's desert land in Oregon. I've been to Portland. Vancouver people like to drive down to Portland and get tax-free shopping back in the day before the
Yeah.
exchange rate went to shits. But yeah, so I talked to this guy. It's completely landlocked. You can't do anything with it off the side of the highway for $500. And I was like, what do I have to lose for $500? I knew nothing about doing comps and figuring that out, but I was like, I mean, it looked decent. I was like, $500, sure, I'll buy a piece of land. So I bought it, and I listed it on Marketplace. I remember going to the gym that morning, the next morning. I used to live by this community center.
How much did you list it for?
I haven't sold it. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry.
You bought
What did I
you bought
say?
it for
I
five
bought
hundred
it.
bucks, right?
I for $500. Yes. So I listed it for 5,000. And I did list it, yes, on Marketplace. What am I talking about? And I went to the gym. I remember it was 6 in the morning, and I was doing the bike thing where no, the rowing machine. And I got a message from Marketplace. Hey, I'm interested in coming to your land. I want to sleep on there this weekend to see what it's like because I want to camp out in that area. I was like, it's landlocked. There's no access. You have to cross all these other parcels, but I don't think anybody cares. It's like, don't worry about it. I want to go there. I was like, okay. And then I got another message within that hour. And then I went home. I remember I was on the toilet, and the third person, I was sitting on the toilet, and then somebody said, "Hey, I want to come and look at your property. I'm gonna be in the area this weekend." I was like, "What is going on?" I was like, I said, "Okay, well, I have to line this up. Somebody's sleeping there on Saturday. Somebody wants to come on I forgot what happened, but he wanted to come on the Sunday." And said, "So there's other people coming by." I said, "No, don't let them come. I'll give you the documentation. We charge a documentation fee just to reserve the property, and I want it right now." I was like, I was screaming to my wife, I was like, somebody wants to pay me 5 grand for this property here. I made like a 10x return on this on the toilet in a couple hours. And I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So I ended up scooping another parcel right beside it, and then one just further down the freeway, very similar. These are all just 1 acre lots. And then from there, I was like, okay, I guess this is a real thing that people do. And then that's how I got into land. Um, I joined a mastermind in the group of a bunch of other beginners. But one of the things that got me started was I had a website up to submit their properties in, and people were just submitting their properties on my website, and a lot of people wanted to know how I got my website up pretty quickly. Um, and I started just sharing this. I didn't think anything of it, and I was starting to think, hey, there are people really interested in some of these sort of, digital side of things, and I that's what I like. I like creating stuff. I love creating a brand. And I'll be honest, I'm not really much of a deal maker. I don't really like hunting for deals. I mean, it was cool, to get a couple parcels and then start flipping it, and there's a great paycheck there, but ultimately, like, I knew what I liked doing. And so I started to help people. I had more and more conversations, started designing websites for people. People started to hear about me, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do about this, but I think I'm just going to continue to nurture a following. So I ended up launching the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast without knowing what I was going to do here. About a year in of doing this, this is now 2020, early 2020 when COVID started hitting. Um, I met somebody in one of the Facebook groups. He built out a system for himself to streamline the mailing and tracking of his properties. And so I messaged him. He was in Seoul, South Korea. I was in Vancouver, Canada. Both of us were not in America. He is an American himself, but he was living abroad for a while. His wife and his family were all there. And we were just like, hey, do you want to pair up and try something here together and launch a product? And we pretty much like agreed kind of on the spot. And this is very dangerous to do, to make a business decision like this, a partnership like this, just over a couple calls. I haven't even met him in person. But I just got a good feeling about him. I've worked with other people before, and he's already built sort of a very basic MVP. And we said, well, great. Why don't we just try something? And so if you guys are ever thinking about starting a partnership route, start it as a project where there's an end date and a start date. So we said, hey, let's launch something. It's now I think March or April. Let's polish what you have. I'm good at marketing. I'm good at branding. I can build a website. You continue to work on the product. We'll collaborate on the product together because I knew land. He knew land as well. And around end of July, early August, I think we launched August 7th of 2020. We launched. I had a following already, and yeah, we hit the ground running with Pebble, essentially, which is our platform to streamline land investing. Now, it's come a long way since then,
Yeah.
and we actually didn't actually meet in person until 2 years later, which is crazy to think we did everything over the internet. But
That's
that's sort of
why.
the
So
journey.
y'all are doing in the software business full time servicing land investors. So you mentioned earlier on that you dug yourself into a 6 figure hole
Yeah.
and you had some issues. Do you mind sharing that?
Yeah. So I ended up partnering, me and somebody locally here in Vancouver. We partnered with somebody who would help us with getting funding. He would do the project management. He would find
For
the
your land
property.
deals? For your
No,
land
these
deals?
are just flipping houses at that time.
Flipping houses. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so
I
this was
was
before getting into land.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And then unfortunately, it was sort of, I would say, lie after lie. And I was just too naive back then. And it's like, oh, okay. But he kept saying, we'll make it back when we sell the property.
Well, what make what back? What was the lie? Like,
Yeah, I mean, delays on this, delays on this. This is going to cost more. Just the expenses on the actual build of the place started racking up, racking up, racking up. Then we were also starting to get funding as well. We were taking on loans, and we were falling behind on payments as well. He
mm.
was also a third partner in it, so he had skin in the game. Um, and so we had a couple of these
He was doing
projects,
the project management and wasn't executing on the timelines or the budgets. Okay,
and
I get
this
it.
this is exactly it. And so we were working on a couple of these projects, and then he filed for bankruptcy. And um, yeah, it's all a bit of a blur. But I remember between me and my partner, we were sort of six figures there, and yeah, we basically had to cough it up somehow. I made it somehow work. And I was like, I'm never going to do any fix and flips or anything with homes anymore. It was just too complicated. There was just too
Yeah.
many factors. I knew nothing about real estate. I came from the beauty world. So it was a hard lesson. I wasn't there. I flew out there once. We were working on projects in Indiana. So it was just it was
What would you have done differently, knowing what you know today, had you decided to do that over again?
that's a really good question. I'm sure if I were put my brain cells to it, I'd probably figure out a good answer for this. But right now, just thinking about it, I mean, timelines alone, like if we're not meeting timelines, something's up. And I don't know if I could have pulled out or ended the project earlier or something along those lines. Um, or better yet, have talked around with other people. I would have networked a little bit more, met other people before I got into project, have more voices to talk to. Because back then I met one person and another person. That's it. I thought, oh great, I met the dream team. I think I was way too naive to trust people. I didn't know the real estate world was like that. I didn't know problems with delays on projects and whatnot. This is very common now, obviously, I know now. Uh, but I think I would have spoken to a lot more people before diving into a project. I think that's the biggest thing, like meeting people, having conversations, and learning from others. I would have done that before diving head in.
Well, what do you mean meeting people and having conversations before diving in?
Yeah, I think even just attending more events where there are people that are working on these kind of projects, um, getting opinions from other people about, even the certain problems that we're having. I have no soundboard. Um, and great, I hear there's an opportunity here. Have a couple other conversations. Try to shop for other opportunities that you can possibly partner with other people. Learn, from I think like ask the dumbest questions. Is sort of the line that I kind of go with. I don't have anything in specific that comes to mind right now, but I think just that is just being around other like-minded people, getting opinions about certain things, and don't be afraid to shop around. I think at that point in time, I was just like, can someone help me get a project up and ready and doing and work on a project, whatever that
Yeah.
project was. But shop around and take your time to shop around. If there are other people that you can possibly partner with.
Mhm. So, how did you go about starting the software business? And I mean, tell us about your first, customers. How did you get that software business off the ground? Obviously, your niche is like land investors, so you were
Yeah.
doing that, and you
Yeah.
kind of saw some pain points. I'm assuming because you're
Yeah.
like, I need this. I don't
Yeah.
see this in the market. I'm going to create it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think one thing that I did right early on was to start building an audience. This was during the time when I was helping people with their websites, and it was just cool to have conversations with people in land space. This is how I learned so much in the land space. It was just having conversations. I'm like, hey, I think I'm going to start a podcast. You want to come on and talk about your business? I knew some strategies, so I didn't always have guests, so nobody knew who the hell I was, right? There are thousands and thousands of real estate investors. So I shared some of the tips I knew as some of the episodes. Started sharing them in Facebook group, and then it started to become people wanted to listen, and then I got people on the show, and that was the thing I think I did right because by the time that I had a product ready, um, or something to you know share or provide more value for my audience, they were there, and it made it quite easy for us to get off, on at a running start here with our software company. Because I think statistically, new companies, especially in the tech world, like the statistics to actually make it and become profitable is very slim. And we were able to do that pretty much day one.
How did you do that day one?
Yeah. On the tactical side, during the summer, I was starting to let people know that we were working on things. I was in the Facebook group sharing a little bit of what we're working on. People were getting excited about it. On the podcast, I hinted it a few times. Also, another thing is I had
You were already involved in the land, flipping communities, right? You are the
correct,
customer, so are they, and you already had those relationships, you had access,
correct.
and so you were, building this like teaser, creating the curiosity. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Now, I'm not really good at that, building too much of a teaser, but I had already hinted it to a few people, and there was a conversation already going on, looking for something like this, and so I was lucky enough to be a part of some Facebook groups. In the world of land investing, I think real estate investing as well. In general, we live in the world of Facebook groups to this day. We're not on LinkedIn. We're not even some of us are on Discord. I think there's a couple communities on Discord, but it's mainly Facebook. So yeah, I teased there. And I had an email list as well because although I had a podcast and I was starting to help people with their websites, I did have a landing page where they could contact me to help them with their land website to buy land and sell land, mainly to buy land. They just needed a simple landing page. So I was helping people and I had an opt-in form on there where they can get some free I don't know what it was. It was a lead magnet I had on there where they could get some free content from me. I genuinely don't even remember what it was, but I had a small list. And so having that list, having a following made it so much easier to be able to launch the product. Now, it's not a big launch. It's not like an Apple launch or anything. I literally had maybe 100 people that I could share this with. And and from there, they started to share it with other people, and we started obviously continue the podcast and build more content around Pebble.
What was that need that you were solving?
Yeah, in the world of at least for land, it's a very fragmented uh systems kind of a business. You've got a lot of things. So ultimately what I'm doing is as a land investor, I'm sending out marketing to people and then they're going to contact me saying, "Okay, I want to sell you my land." And they might not be ready, but they might be ready. And then we need to generate documents like deeds and contracts and whatnot. And then we got to do our due diligence on the property. So we got to keep track of all that information. So you could see, you're using a system to send out your mailing, and then you're using your system to track these leads, and then you're using another system to answer your phone calls and do your text and email, and then you're using another system to generate documents. And we saw this is so inefficient. This is costly, this is inefficient, and if somebody wanted to scale this up, you can do it. It's just a very, very messy business. So that's the thing that we saw early on. It's like, wow, this is very fragmented. I think we can bring this together and make the process of land investing a lot more accessible and easy to run, where you don't have to figure out how to string these things together. You want to, yeah, the great thing about land, it's a very laptop business. And I literally, like Kevin was selling land. Out in Seoul, South Korea, flipping land back in home in the States, and I was doing this across the border. You certainly can do this. I've never been to any of my properties, um, and so we need systems in place to be able to, to run this at scale. I think is the big thing, and people were realizing, wow, there's a really good return on this. Um, it's not as great as it was before. Like you could get a property, a few cents on the dollar type of thing, so like I did, if I read it for 5,000 now, you have to throw down a little bit more. But yeah, so we spotted that early on and wanted to simplify a lot of that. Simplify a lot.
So your software took a lot of different pieces. It sounds like
Yeah,
CRM management, the calls coming in, and
yeah,
just sort of streamline, kind of brought it all in under one umbrella.
yeah,
So you launched it by building your list. You're already in the communities,
yeah,
kind of creating curiosity and excitement. You launched. Um, how did you scale it, and what's working for you today to continue to scale that software
yeah.
business?
I'll just chime in here really quickly. I have no idea how to run a software company. Um, I knew nothing about it. I was like, well, what am I doing here?" So there was definitely a lot of like imposter syndrome going on. Luckily enough, I joined a coaching program on running a software business, and so whatever
What was
niche.
that program? Do you mind sharing it?
Yeah, if it's called SaaS Academy. Some of you
Okay.
guys who know Dan Martell, he used to be a coach of mine. He wrote that book called "Buy Back Your Time." In fact, I see that book there in your corner. I think that's by the was it Alex Hermosi there?
Yeah.
He used to be part of that program as well. So yeah, it was a great program that I was part of that helped me learn a lot. I knew nothing about software, though I was in tech. But anyways, your question was, what sort of helped us grow
Yeah.
and
Grow and scale.
I think the biggest thing is leveraging for us strategic partners. So there was a lot of educators in the space having that relationship and allowing them to build out their system of running a land business and teaching how to use Pebble was really big. There was obviously a commissions aspect to that. That was probably our biggest growth lever. Having those conversations with them, meeting them, and then asking them, hey, do you want to try something out like Pebble? We help people who are getting started in land accelerate that a lot quicker because I've seen it time after time. Like I got lucky sending this mailer without anything because I got my first 3 deals with this letter. After that, I it was crickets for a few months, and it's like I would have lost consistency to do things. But with Pebble, like we allow you to just do it consistently and easy. Like setting up a mailer with a print house to do this and get everything online, it was like a 2, 3 week, it's just takes a long time. It's lucky I have a design background. My last job was working with the printer. I worked for a magazine, I designed a magazine, I knew the printing very, very well. Anyway,
Mhm.
so we want to make sure that everybody can get up and running quickly. So partnerships was big for us. And then
And how did those partnerships work exactly? So
yeah,
you got these other educators in the space, I'm assuming with land, and you've done some sort of partnership where
yeah,
they push people towards your software product
yeah,
and maybe they get a cut or a commission or something. Like what walk
exactly.
us through that. Like what do the nuts and bolts of those
Sure.
partnerships with the educators look like?
These educators didn't want to switch what they were doing personally because there's just a lot of work. And for them to relearn how to run a business on our platform sometimes took a lot, and they didn't want to either, but they wanted to learn. They wanted the commissions, they want to make the wins for their students as well. So I literally said, hey, why don't you invite me into your course area or your live sessions? I'll come in and teach. I know your framework already. So you're teaching people to send out these kind of a letters, and then this is the next thing you got to send, and this is how you do your due diligence on the property. Great. I'll walk them through how to get their marketing out of Pebble really quickly, and then I'll show them how they can keep track of their leads in Pebble. This was early on, right? It was a very simple platform back then, and that was a lot of it. Me just going in there because they didn't want to learn it. They didn't want to switch everything. They've got a strung together system that worked. They don't want to explode their whole system just to work with us. So I came in there a lot of times and did the instructing with them. I did it for all our coaches. In fact, there are some that went in the rabbit hole and learned everything about our platform and then created content around that. But I went there, and then we started to do webinars. So webinars were really big for us as well back in the day. We would partner with an educator. We say, hey, we're going to talk about, I don't know, let's say a portfolio offer or like ranged offer letters. This is a whole webinar around it. And so with the educator and us, the educator would pull their community in. We do a webinar together, and then there'd be a pitch at the end of it. And we get a lot of people in it that way. Back early in the days was a lot of webinars, a lot of teaching with the educators in the space.
Wow, very interesting. So you were doing webinars with them, solving a pain point of their clients for them,
Correct.
and then you had, like, did you give them like a commission or a profit split or anything like that? Did I hear
Yep,
that
yep,
correctly?
we
Okay.
did. We offered them a 25% recurring lifetime. So as long as it's the lifetime of that subscription, they would get 25%.
25% of it,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
exactly.
creating cash flow. That's awesome. So with all the success that you've had, what's next for you?
Oh man, without getting too nerdy here, the world of technology is changing very much with the AI. And so, we're now what we call a software as a service, getting access to a piece of software to use it. Where I see things going is it's going to be more of a results as a service. I think the
Mm,
SaaS model, the software as a service, is going to come to somewhat of an end, and we're going to see a mutation of this. And where I see this sort of mutating with AI and autonomous agents is these softwares like ours are going to need to start providing results or outcomes, very, very clear of results and outcomes. And so we're starting to look at this now. Pebble is now becoming, but we're launching, several kind of agents within the platform to help you conduct certain things, to execute on certain things, to produce an outcome. I'll give you an example. Very simple one. We're calling this our intake agent, right? So it answers the call for you. It will field that lead for you. It'll detect its intent. It'll ask all the questions about the property. It's pretty incredible.
yeah.
11 Labs is behind all of this voice technology right now, and we're sort of tied in with that. And the great thing about Pebble is the AI is tied into Pebble, so it not only is an agent, but it has context about the property, and it can start talking about the property to that that owner. And so
Wow.
ultimately, we're producing a high intent lead for the investor. It cuts out a lot of work there and cuts out other labor as well. And so that's a simple thing. But the great thing is, with access to the data and the context of every user and their land and all that, agents are going to be just much more empowered within Pebble. So this is sort of the big thing that is next for us. How do we start rolling into what I call, or some others, I didn't coin this term, but results as a service is what we're starting to think about heavily. But the thing is, things are moving so quick in the world of AI. But that's
Yeah.
sort of the next thing we're seeing ahead of us.
That is very, very cool. And Jessey, if people want to learn more about you, learn
Yeah.
more about Pebble REI, where can they go?
Yeah, yeah, two places, pebblerei.com. I think we're going to be doing some adjustment to our URL, but that'll always redirect to our site. And then you can find us on YouTube. If you want to see, bring on a lot of guests, people who have failed in land, or just even getting started in land. I love bringing people who are just getting started, sharing with other people, what it's like in that, and obviously wins. You can head over to our channel on YouTube. That's Pebble REI, or you can find us on Spotify. That's the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast.
Awesome, man. We'll make sure they get the notes. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Brandon, thanks for having me on.